Hi everyone, it's time to get current on our feet with practical tips to deal with the effects of this pandemic COVID-19. Earlier episode, we got to know about how you can stand out from this current competitive job market. Hope it sparked some ideas and you're getting your hands in action. Now let us bring this action to the next level. I'm sure some of you may have gone for interviews, preparing it, or haven't gotten one. Now those who haven't gotten one, time to get prepared. With technology, we have AI and automation to aid HRs in filtering the candidates. So before interview happens, one has to go rounds of interviews, including personality assessment, psychometric tests, and even case studies, essays, etc. Hence, has the interviews become harder? Today, we are very excited to have Narinder Ahluwalia, Chief Solutions Architect of Covalience, to explain to us how to handle and score in interviews. Hi, Narinder. Thank you for accepting my invitation to this interview. And I got to know you are also a Gallup strength coach. So before we start, I think it is best for you to share more about what do you do.
Thank you, Mavis. Thank you for having me on this interview. It's so exciting. As I was preparing and thinking, what should I share on this interview? I had some very exciting ideas, especially around the COVID-19 situation, which is all over the world. So over the last 4 years, many job seekers and professionals have benefited from strengths coaching. 35 years of my work experience has been both as an employer and an employee. And this has been a great help in training and coaching both job seekers and as well as startup entrepreneurs.
So though there are companies still hiring, we know these people are skilled and some may have gotten referral to companies for job applications, and we are seeing people starting to go for second or third round of interviews. What kind of interviews are we looking at?
Yeah, these are very tumultuous and unsettling times. It's never easy anymore to aim for a job and just get it. So second or third round of interviews are those that a job seeker must go through when there are more employees available in the job market as compared to the availability of jobs. Companies often want to be very sure that the candidate has the right job fit. And to do this, Mavis, the company may have various rounds of interviews. Employer may try to assess job seekers in the following 12 different areas. These could be areas like personality and etiquette. They could be assessing the candidate in the area of knowledge and skills, relevant experience, even communication skills, the suitability for the company they are being hired for, the educational qualifications of the candidate, the career path and the future plans that the candidate has, and the knowledge of the current technology that he or she possesses, and of course, the leadership quality, his overall strengths, his overall concerns that he has about the job, and a very important part, not to miss that, is the cultural fit.
I see. Now we know this pandemic has made all of us uptight about hiring process. Is there a difference to how one can prepare for interview during this period compared to the usual preparation before this conflict?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I said some time back, things have really changed. So when situations change, your approach must change with it. You will not get good results if you continue to apply the same approach you have been using in the past. To prepare for interviews in the current times that we are living, there are two approaches. One is a very basic approach, and the other one is an advanced approach. So Mavis, let me talk with you about the basic approach first. There are few things we have to keep in mind when we are approaching preparation of interview at this level. We have to make sure that the candidate can show to the interviewer that during the lockdown, he has been enhancing his value by learning new skills that will greatly benefit the employer. The second thing that the candidate must do is he or she should come across as a positive person who is not easily bogged down by adversities or problems and is able to come together to solve that in a positive way. And you should have some out-of-the-box ideas ready for sharing, as you may have questions about how will you manage and motivate your team in the event of pandemics like what we are going through today, or in the event of any emergencies. How can you be a good team player? So he should have out-of-the-box ideas. And of course, the person going for the interview should dress well for the occasion. There are some tips that we can share about dressing for all those who are interested. And one more idea that I have for the basic approach to preparing for interviews during these days is you should regularly post motivating ideas on your social media posts, as these posts are read by the HR department and the interviewer even before he meets you or she meets you. So be very sure that your post should be very motivating. Now, the advanced approach, if you would like to know, is that most employees, as we have seen around the world, they accept jobs that are either easily available or have been recommended by their peers, or sometimes even by their parents. So, however, the right approach to taking a job is based on assessing what kinds of jobs align with your personality and interests. Always make sure, dear candidates, that you do not get into a 9-to-5 job that is draining for you, that is frustrating for you. One of the approaches to know which jobs align with your personality, you must take the Gallup assessment test and coaching thereby. This method will help you make the most important decisions of your life. Which job is the most suitable according to how your brain is wired. And maybe someone like you or me, we can help candidates in this area.
Great. To answer, how can one prepare challenging questions, asked during interview?
Yeah, some of the questions like, interview can ask you, tell me about yourself. So when this question is asked, many people become very uptight. They lose their bearings, and when they try to search for the right answer, their thoughts get scattered all over the place. The objective is to show that you are the perfect fit for the job. So primarily, there are 3 things that the interviewer wants to know about you and you should be talking about. These 3 things are your education, your employment, if you have an employment history, and your interests. Remember, align your answer to the position you're applying for. For instance, if you're applying for a job in the banking industry, you ought to be talking about your passion for things related to managing money. Talking about how you like to compose poems under a moonlit sky may not be in line. You must talk in a way that shows your familiarity with the banking lingo and jargon. Try not to give too many miscellaneous details about yourself unless the interviewer probes you for those details.
So, there are things like what are your strengths and weaknesses? How do you think someone can prepare such questions?
Wow, this is a great question, Mavis. So here is why it is important to research the business and the position applied for. For instance, if you are applying for a job as a business analyst, be sure to let your interviewers know that your strengths lie in critical thinking, problem solving, that you are detail-oriented, and you are good in communication. However, do not oversell your strengths, as it could come off as boastful. Always use evidence from past experiences to back up your strengths. For instance, share about how your skill as a team player had helped you lead a team to victory and success in the past. While talking about weaknesses, demonstrate the trait of being self-aware and the desire of improvement. The trick is how you use your flaws to your advantage. Do bear in mind that your weakness should not be critical to the job you are applying for. For instance, if you're applying for a job as a project manager, multitasking should not be one of your weaknesses.
Yes, definitely. So some interviewers like to actually ask the question, what attracted you to our company? how to answer
Oh,
such question?
yes, Mavis, this is a very favorite question. I've remembered many times on the interview board, I have asked this question from candidates and very interesting answers come out. But as an interviewer, you know, if the person says, you know, because your company office is close to my home or it is on my bus route, that is not the right answer. The candidate should research about the company, focusing on things such as its working culture, its internal offerings like training programs, opportunities for rotation, etc. The candidate then show your interviewer how well prepared he or she is by demonstrating knowledge about the company. For example, if the company has a reputation for technological innovation, the candidate can talk about how he has or she has been keeping up with the news about its various projects and how he or she would like to work at that company. This shows that the candidate is driven, is ambitious, and is interested in a long-term career in this company.
The next very popular questions a lot of interviewers will ask interviewees is that what are your goals in the next 5 years? How, such challenging questions. How would you prepare?
Yeah, if I were to advise about an answer, a good answer to this, I would say that the candidate should say that he hopes to gain more expertise in that industry and perhaps take on more managerial responsibilities within the next 5 years. If the candidate is a fresh graduate, and this can be in many cases, this would actually illustrate the person's humility and the willingness to learn. In addition, it gives the employer an indication of how long the candidate is willing to commit to them.
Hmm. I do come across some, I would feel, very tricky questions. Some of my clients actually ask me about what business challenge have you faced and how did you overcome it?
Right. If I were to advise job seekers about this one, I would say just pick a business challenge that you were able to overcome using a skill that best relates to the job you are applying for. That's very important. If you have managed to improve the workflow in your previous company to increase productivity, explain to the interviewer the approach you took, including your thought process and actions. Describe your problem-solving skills as much as possible. The important point to note here is, even if you are not able to fully resolve the issue, tell your employers what valuable lessons the experience has taught you. You know why? Because employers love candidates who have a never say die attitude. So be sure to exhibit those kind of traits.
Hmm. Now, the next question will be, some people will be very interested is, what can you contribute to the job and our company? This takes us a lot, many people a long time to answer. How would you answer?
Yeah, I would say examples of previous accomplishments would be a great way to demonstrate what you could possibly add value for this company you are interviewing for. And always remember, candidates should align his or her contributions with the demands and expectations of the job description. This is very important. Maybe statistics may come in very handy here. For instance, if the candidate could let the interviewer know that he or she was able to increase a previous company's sales by 30%, for example, even during the Singapore recession in 2009, for example. Highlight some of those soft skills, like a sense of responsibility as a team leader, being a good communicator. That will make the candidate an asset to the company. But remember, I would advise this to people who are listening to this. Do not brag about your achievements, as this might come off as arrogant and egotistical.
I'm sure, you know. So, Narinder, these questions, one last question is that, and most people are stuck in this, is interviewer will ask, Do you have any questions?
Yeah, Mavis, and whenever I have seen candidates appearing for interviews, and when we ask them this question, they are quiet, they are tongue-tied, they don't know what to say. But that is not the right approach. You may be respecting the person across the table thinking he is elder to you, you should not question him. But the fact is that you should definitely ask your interviewer thoughtful questions. For example, you could say, how this position has evolved, if it is not a new position, for example, or how the company defines success. Also find out more about the career progression, the company culture, the work-life balance, as well as salary. That's perfectly fine. Take the opportunity to also show your determination and interest in the company. Mavis, having no questions at all might be a bad sign, as it implies that you are not interested to learn more about the company.
Yes, I do perfectly agree with that. Having no questions shows that you have no interest to learn about the company. So many a times you relate preparation to performing and scoring in interview. How are you evaluated in interviews? Do you have any evaluation scores, do you think?
Yes, Mavis. I will share with you how we interview candidates in the business that we are running. So we go from score starting from 0 to 5. Obviously, 0 being the most undesirable candidate and 5 being the best candidate having the highest chances of success. Let me share the secret with you that what are the methods of making sure that in an interview, the candidate is able to get the maximum score. So whenever the candidate does not give any answer to the question being asked, or the answer is completely irrelevant, no examples are given, then you know what? The interviewer will give the score of 0, which is the least score. And if supposing a few good points are given, but the main issues are missing in the answer, no examples are given, or the examples that are given are irrelevant, then the candidate will get just 1 point as a score. And in case some points are covered of the answer of the question, but not all of them are relevant, some examples are given, then maybe he will get a score of 2. But if some points are covered, relevant information is given, some examples are also given, then he would manage a score of 3. And Mavis, if the answer is good, the information is relevant, all or most points are covered, examples are good. Here, remember, I'm saying just good, then the score of 4 is given. But here is the thing, if the candidate wants to score the perfect 5, then his answers also ought to be perfect. He or she should address all the points required to answer that question. And all the points should be relevant. Even the examples should be good and relevant examples. So that is how interviews are scored for candidates.
Yes, definitely, Narinder, you brought good advice and you gave to us always to reflect on how you can fare in interviews. And if the approaches you use are not working, try new approaches. In my honest opinion so far, having to mentor on career strategies for executives, what you have highlighted in your new approaches works the best, especially to stand out in the crowd. The approach will works the best because it portrays the image of how I can help your company. Once again, Narinder, thank you for bringing us practical insights on how we can perform and score in interviews. Thank you, Narinder. Thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning into this episode. Take care, stay safe, and well, everyone.
Yeah, take care, stay safe and well, everyone. Thank you, Mavis.